Hey, what's up guys, it's Ryan and welcome to one of my most requested videos of all time, a 150 plus modded load order. Now about 4 or so months ago I made another load order that featured 120 plus mods, and we went through the list and just went through the entire thing, and you guys loved it. You killed it with the support, you killed it with the comments, all the likes, everything that you left on that video was just amazing, and I never thought that I would be able to reach out to as many people in the modding community as I did. And as the video got older, a lot of you guys were recommending that I make a new and updated one, so I wanted to go above and beyond, and instead of doing 120 plus mods, let's just completely max out our capabilities on the Xbox. Let's download 150 mods, use up all the 5 gigabytes of space, and see if we can get the game running smoothly, as well as having as many mods as possible in the load order. Now I've actually done that for you guys today. I have 150 mods that I'm going to be going over, and you guys can follow the order itself because this is the load order that I currently use, or you can just pick from the list itself and pick out mods that you find interesting and just add them to your load order. So if you'd like to remaster your Skyrim in every single way, follow this load order from start to finish and you will have a brand new game that'll feel like an entirely new experience. I'm playing on the Xbox One X at the moment, but it should work on Xbox One S's as well as the original Xbox One. So without further delay, let's jump into this huge load order featuring over 150 mods that'll completely remaster your Skyrim and turn it into a true RPG. Now, if you are going to copy this load order from start to finish, there's something very important that you have to do first. If you do plan on downloading every single mod, you have to go onto your Skyrim Special Edition and go to Manage Game and Add-ons. Once there, you go onto the Save Data tab and you delete the reserved space. This will make it so whenever you download all the mods, it won't say that you've run out of space, because how the game works is once you delete big mods, they don't actually get deleted permanently. Some of the cache is still stored in there from the mod, and it just takes up space, so whenever you go to download mods, you'll have like 53 or so megabytes left like I do, but you won't be able to download anything else. Even if you have enough space up at the top where it says free space, for some reason it'll still say that you don't have enough space. In order to get around that, you have to go under the Games and Add-ons tab and delete that reserved space so you can completely start fresh with 5 gigabytes and download a bunch of new mods. Starting off with the first mod in this huge load order, we have the Unofficial Skyrim Edition patch. Now this is pretty much a must-have for me. This stays at the top of my load order no matter what, and I also want to say that I'm not going to go into full detail on what every single mod does, just give you a little bit of info on each mod, and then we'll just move on to the next one, because if I sat here and I talked to you about every single mod in huge detail, we would be here for hours, and I already know this video is going to be really long, so I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of info about each mod, and then we'll just move on to the next one. I also want to say, if you did see that 120 plus modded load order video, you'll notice that I did carry a lot from that load order over to this one, because I just really liked the mods featured in that one, so you might see some duplicates in here, but I assure you there's a bunch of new ones as well. Moving on, we have the unofficial Arcane accessories and the unofficial Dwarven Mudcrab patch. I want to make it very clear that you have to have the Creation Club content in order for these to work. If you don't have them, then just don't download them, and if you don't have access to the Creation Club and you don't download anything from there, just skip these out, because I got a lot of comments on the previous ones saying that they weren't able to download these simply because they didn't have the Creation Club content. So if you do have the unofficial Arcane accessories and the Dwarven Mudcrab in the Creation Club, then give these mods a download, because they just make it so you don't automatically get it right when you start the game. I found it kind of annoying that whenever you first start the game, the first thing that happens to you is a courier comes up to you and you get the Arcane accessories and the Dwarven Armored Mudcrab like right away. This makes it so you have to be a certain level in order for them to actually reach out and find you. Moving on, we have the Radiant Quest Marker SE, which makes it so that Radiant quests are marked with a Radiant symbol so that you know it's a Radiant quest and you don't waste your time. Then we have the Font Overhaul Natural Typefaces, which is one of the best font overhauls I think out of all of Skyrim, and it just makes all the text in the game look really nice and lore friendly. Next up, we have the 60 FPS menus, the natural interface mod that converts most of Skyrim's UI to run at 60 frames per second. It's extremely noticeable right whenever you start the game up and makes everything way faster that you'll never go back after downloading this mod. Then we have the menus of Skyrim, Alduin's Doom, which is just a 4K replacer of the title screen and adds some really cool music along with the background. Next, we have the TESG Loadscreen replacer, which changes all of the load screens in the game with 205 high-resolution screenshots that have been processed to resemble paintings. And I just really love how it looks. Every time you go through a door or fast travel somewhere, there's always going to be a new and unique picture on the screen, and I just really like it as opposed to the black screen with smoke coming out. Next up we have our music mods such as Elder Scrolls Music Combined and Additional Music Project, which adds the original Elder Scrolls music into the game, such as from Oblivion and Morrowind, and then we have the Additional Music Project, which adds way more songs, over 3 hours, 43 minutes, and 53 seconds of brand new music, so there's going to be a ton of new things to listen to whenever you're going through this new and unique playthrough. Next up we have the heads-up display mods such as SkyHUD, the Dissonance preset, which features an Oblivion-style HUD, the left-aligned health, stamina, and magicka, a dot crosshair, a slim compass, and an alternate ammo location. This just gives the heads-up display in Skyrim a little bit more of a cleaner look. Now we have the realistic waterfall sounds, which just adds realistic sounds to the waterfalls as you're passing them by, and then the realistic ragdolls and force, realistic impacts, and realistic death physics just work on the physics of the game, such as ragdolls, and whenever you shoot someone, does their body go flying? That no longer happens, it's more realistic. The realistic impacts features the dragon impacts. Whenever they land on the ground, other things will shake and other things will move around. And then the realistic death physics is whenever you kill someone, they won't do that stupid spinning animation. So it just makes it a little bit more realistic and just adds a little bit more of a realism factor to your combat. Now before I move on to the next mod, it is very important to note that if you are using realistic death physics and you plan on doing the vanilla start, make sure that you disable this mod until after you leave Helgen. Moving on, we have the cheat room mod, which isn't necessarily for cheating. I more so use it if I get caught in a corner or if there's something I have to fix in the game, such as if a mod breaks or something along those lines. I can fix it with a cheat room instead of having to reload a save. Now we have the Skyrim Outfitters Ebony backpack, which just allows you to carry a backpack at all times, increasing your carry weight. Next up we have face masks of Skyrim, which allows you to craft face masks for your character at the tanning rack, and NPCs can also have them on as well, so you'll stumble across NPCs that are also wearing them, which I think is pretty cool. Next up we have the Cloaks of Skyrim, which is almost exactly like the face mask of Skyrim, it just adds cloaks into the game. Over 100 new cloaks and cape variants have been added to the world. Whether you find them in caves, find them on other NPCs, or simply craft them at the tanning rack, there's tons of new cloaks to explore and use in this game. Next up we have the Practical Armors mod, which just makes armor a little bit more realistic looking and adds sleeves to a lot of the armors as well. I always found it kind of annoying how, Skyrim is such a cold place, but everyone has short sleeves and no one really wears clothes all the time, but that really changes here. The Practical Armors makes it a little bit more realistic and adds sleeves to armors that make sense and just makes it look a lot better. Now we have two extremely good armor overhauls. There's the Authentic Legion and the Light Guard Armor Overhaul. A lot of you guys have probably seen this in a lot of my videos featuring in the top 5 mod videos where I'm walking around cities and the guards look absolutely amazing with this whole brand new set of armor, and the people in the Legion, the Imperial Legion, are also well dressed as well. They remind me more of the Oblivion armor, and they have that type of armor on, and it just looks extremely good. I really like using the Authentic Legion and the Guard Armor Overhaul together. I think they work together perfectly. Next up we have the Improved Closed Face Helmet, which just makes it so anyone that's wearing a helmet, you can actually see their eyes instead of it just being dark in there. Then the Black Leather Sheath simply is a mod that changes your sheath to be black instead of brown, which matches a lot of different types of armor sets. Next up we have the Arrowsmith Special Edition mod, which changes the arrow crafting recipes to be more rebalanced and require fletchlings. Chickens can now be plucked for feathers without killing them, and crossbows and bolts can now be crafted at any forge, so you no longer have to do Dawn Guard to get access to the crossbows. Next up we have the Smeltdown update, which is a must-have for me when it comes to smelting and crafting, because this mod is just like Fallout. It allows you to take all your junk that you find throughout your travels and smelt them down into stuff that's useful, such as different types of ingots. You can smelt down jewelry, you can smelt down any type of armor or weapon that you don't use anymore. You could just go around and collect a bunch of different plates and smelt them down too. It's pretty much limitless what you can do with the Smeltdown update, so that's why it's a must-have for me. Next up we have Mysticism, a magic overhaul which features over 200 new spells added to the world and a sweeping balance of adjustments to vanilla spells. Just so if you're a mage, you can just completely remaster everything and have an entirely new experience whenever you're going into the college and actually learning all of these spells in that tree. Then next up we have the Ordinator Perks of Skyrim, which is also a must-have for me in pretty much all my playthroughs because it adds 400 brand new perks to improve the depth and fun of character building. These 400 new perks are very useful, and just the way that they're all set up just makes it way better than the vanilla version of the skill tree system. And then next up we have the Ordinator patch that works along with the Mysticism mod, so you want to get that. And the Apocalypse Magic of Skyrim mod as well is another magic mod that adds 155 more new spells. You thought Mysticism was good, adding 200 new spells? Apocalypse adds 155 more, about 31 per school, with high quality custom effects and animations. I really love the amount of spells that have been added with this mod, and all these spells are unique, balanced, and lore friendly and blends seamlessly into the vanilla magic system. So now you have such a huge arrangement of different spells to learn with these two mods combined. You'll also want to grab the patch for Apocalypse, the Ordinator compatibility patch, so they'll be able to run together. Next up we have the Better Spell Learning mod, which makes it so that spell learning with tomes is way more realistic. You'll have to sit there and actually open up the book and study it for a while before actually being able to use the spell. You can sit down in the college and open it up and it'll go up to like 20 or 30%, or if you're sitting outside or in your player home, it'll go a different percentage. The more you open up the book, you'll just be able to learn the spell more and more until you finally learn the spell, making it so it's a little more realistic than just opening the spell tome and absorbing the book and just being able to cast a spell right away. And since we have this Better Spell Learning, we might as well get the Apocalypse patch so they fit together, so you'll want to grab that mod as well. And then the Summer Mist enchantment of Skyrim adds a whole bunch of new enchantments into the game. Over 120 new enchantments that can be bought, looted, and applied to custom items. It also makes many improvements to vanilla enchantments. So this completely overhauls all of the enchantments in your game. Then moving on to the Standing Stones of Skyrim, we have the Aurora Standing Stones of Skyrim, which overhauls all of these Standing Stone effects to make them more interesting and tactical. Each Standing Stone comes with one passive ability and one active power. This just makes it so the Standing Stones of Skyrim have a little bit more of an importance, because in the vanilla game they aren't really that important. They don't really give you too big of bonuses, but now with this mod they give you a huge bonus depending on which one you choose. Next up we have the 20 more perk points mod, which increases the number of perk points that you earn, so that every 5 levels you receive an additional perk point. And then we have the perk point at skill levels 50, 75, or 100, so that whenever you reach, let's say, Alchemy level 50, you'll get an extra bonus perk. Whenever you get to level 75, another bonus perk. 100, another bonus perk. And then one more mod including the perk points, we have the perk points and more gold for bounties. This mod changes the bounty script so that you'll be rewarded with more gold and perk points, so that if you do a bandit or Forsworn camp, you'll get 300 gold and 1 perk point. Killing giants for the town is 500 gold and 1 perk point, and killing dragons for the town is 1,000 gold and 2 perk points. I added all these extra perk point mods because with the 400 perks that have been added with the Ordinator mod, it would be almost impossible to dive into a certain skill tree, so I made it so we earn more perk points the more stuff that you do and the more levels that you accumulate, so that you'll be able to actually fix your character in any way that you see fit. Next up we have the Dynamic Camera mod, which is probably my most asked about mod in my entire load order because of just the camera angles that I can get with this Dynamic Camera mod. It allows you to change the field of view, how far in you can zoom, what it looks like whenever you're idle, melee, ranged attacking, the min and max for zooming. Just it allows you to change pretty much anything that you want whenever it comes to the third person camera, and I think it is brilliant. Next up we have the Dynamic Display Settings mod, which goes right under the Dynamic Camera mod and just does even more for customization of your camera. You could change the contrast, the brightness, the saturation, the depth of field, the bloom radius, the bloom scale, the threshold, and even add red, green, and blue tints to your screen. And then finally we have the horse camera tweak, which makes it so whenever you're on your horse, the camera is a little bit lower and it makes it look a lot better in my opinion. So with these 3 camera mods combined, you'll have the most customizable and best looking Skyrim that you can tweak to your liking. Moving on, we have the Unread Books Glow, which is a mod that does exactly what the title says. All the books that you haven't read glow, but you can change it and customize it as well, so that only skill books glow, or only books that you haven't read glow, or only certain types of quest books glow. You can change it to be however you would like. Mostly in my playthroughs, I just do the skill books so I can know which ones are different from the ones that aren't really useful. Moving on, we have the Archery Tweaks Plus, which is a simple mod that increases the speed of all arrow and bolt projectiles by 42%, making them fly further before dropping to the ground. And we have the Belt Fastened Quivers, which does exactly what it says. It just fastens your quiver around your belt instead of being around your back. Moving on, we have the Throwing Weapons Light mod, which I think is really cool. It adds throwing knives, throwing axes, javelins, oil pots, smoke bombs, and grenades. But whenever I say grenades, I don't want you to actually think like war grenades. I want you to think like it's a spell that's in grenade form, so that whenever you throw it, it pretty much just explodes on impact and does like a little ball of fire. Or it can be a poison potion that explodes on impact, those types of grenades. Next up, we have the Royal Armory mod, which just adds a little bit more immersion by giving the people that are important in the game, such as General Tullius and other people like that, important weapons and unique weapons with unique traits. Not every weapon is actually obtainable though either, because a lot of these NPCs are essential and they can't drop the sword, but they just want you to know that it's a lot more immersive, that Ulfric Stormcloak and General Tullius didn't just run into battle with a regular steel sword, they had a special sword with unique enchantments on it. Next up we have the Heavy Armory mod, which adds clubs, halberds, hatchets, long maces, mauls, quarterstaffs, short spears, and way more weapons to choose from whenever it comes to actually choosing what type of weapon you want to use. and the different types of weapons that you can have. Now we have the truly unique uniques, which makes the unique weapons in the game way more better to use. It replaces about 48 of the unique weapons with brand new models and textures. Moving on, we have the surreal lighting, eternal sunshine, and far better sun mod, which just make it so daytime in the game is way better looking. And then we have the enhanced night Skyrim, which just changes it so that the sky during the nighttime looks amazing. Next up we have our weather mod, which is the Mythical Ages mod. It's a complete overhaul of the weathers and lighting system with a fantasy theme. It allows for a larger variety of weathers compared to the vanilla weathers, and it also allows you to customize what the weathers look like as well. There's a bunch of different presets that you can choose from, but the one I choose is called Sharp. Next up we have Violence, which is a kill move mod that gives you complete in-game control over both ranged and melee kill moves. It adds a book into the game that you can open up and just set and customize what type of kill moves you'd like to do. Next up we have the Beauty of Skyrim, which is a mod that's just under a gigabyte that changes all of the humanoid NPCs. It adds 26 new hairs for women, 17 for men, 3 Khajiits, 3 Argonians, 20 new types of war paints, new textures for vanilla hairs, new eyes for all races, new eyebrows, new teeth, new lips, new beards, new everything. And combining it with the Divine Skins and Body mod just completely remaster what all the NPCs look like in the game. And then we can also go farther with adding the Variety of Hair Colors mod, which allows you to have any type of hair color you would like. And then the Beards mod, which adds a whole bunch of high quality textured beards and presets that you can use for your character now. So all 4 of these combined, the Beauty of Skyrim, the Divine Skins and Body, Variety of Hair Colors, and Beards, all combined to make the greatest looking NPCs that Skyrim has ever seen. And then we have the Enhanced Blood Textures mod, which gives you bloodier combat experiences with higher resolution and detailed textures. Next up we have the Dust Effects mod, which is a simple texture replacer for dust effects in the game. It's going to be very useful for whenever we go into our lighting mods here in a little bit. Then we have the Skyrim is Windy mod, which just adds the windiness to the game, allowing the trees to actually flow in the wind and branches to actually move up and down and grass to flow. It looks amazing whenever you install this mod, so I would highly recommend it. Moving on, we have the lockpicking interface redone, which is a remake of the lockpicking interface with 100% new models and textures, with the lock being a lot bigger, occupying most of the screen that otherwise would be wasted. And then next up we have the animated Clutter SSE mod, which allows animations to play whenever you're looking through any of the clutter in the game. Whether it's a satchel or a barrel or a sack that you're opening up, they're all going to have animations of you actually sifting through there and opening it up, and it just looks amazing and really immersive as well. Next up we have Divine SMIM, which is a huge retexture clutter mod that covers alchemy tables, apples, bars and stools, baskets, carriages, cave lamps, chandeliers, etc. There's so much that it covers in 427 megabytes that your game is just going to look amazing with this mod alone. And then we have the Enhanced Light and Effects mod, which is pretty much in most of my load orders, where it just makes it so all light sources actually emit light, and even in windows and interiors. It adds candle smoke effects. It just makes it so that the lights in the game look so realistic. And then moving on to an add-on that goes along with Enhanced Light and Effects, the Hardcore version. This makes it so all the interiors have been darkened, and caves that haven't been lit up in years actually are completely dark. There's not going to be light sources in there, so you're going to have a torch at all times whenever going through and exploring the caves that haven't been touched in centuries. I also want to say that if you guys do download this mod and you don't like how dark it is on the interiors, go up and look at the dynamic display settings mod and change the brightness of that interior that you're in. You can actually customize what each interior looks like so that whenever you go into one interior, it'll be a lot brighter, and then whenever you go into the next one, it won't be the same, and you can just customize them so that they're to your liking. You're also going to want to pick up the SMIM patch for ELFX because we have the Divine SMIM mod, and we'll just want to patch that up. And then moving on, we have the ELFX No Fake Light Under Doors, which just removes the light coming from underneath the doors, just because it's more of a preference on my end. Next up, we have a bunch of new NPCs that we can add into the game, such as the Argonian Hatchlings and Khajiit Caravan Kittens, which pretty much just add the children of each race into the game. The Argonian Hatchlings are just Argonian children, and the Khajiit Caravan Kittens are just children that are in the Khajiit caravans. And then we have some creature mods, such as classic ghosts and zombies from the Mahale Monsters and Animals pack. These are my 2 favorite, actually. I really like what the ghosts look like, and the zombies as well, and they just remind me of playing Oblivion all the time because the ghosts and the zombies in that game. So it just makes a lot more sense there, and I really like fighting them in the caves. And then moving on, we have the Real Wildlife mod, which adds over 490 new variants of natural wildlife to Skyrim, with revised AI and wildlife faction interaction, 16 new lore-friendly diseases, and 45 new ingredients. There's also 21 new foods and 21 new recipes as well, so why wouldn't you want a mod like this? And now we have the Temper's Mystical Dragon Recolor, which recolors a lot of the dragons into the game. Some dragons are pale green, some blood dragons are bright red, the Elder Dragon is bright orange, and the Ancient Dragon has a little bit more of a mossy style green to it, giving each unique dragon a more vibrant looking color. And now we have Lupinus, which is a complete overhaul to all of the werewolves in the game, which include now naturally occurring werewolves, new werewolf AI, increased werewolf speed, and you can now get the disease to become a werewolf without actually going into the Companions Guild. You can just stumble across a werewolf in the wild and he can give you the disease and then you'll eventually change into one. Next up we have some horse overhauls such as Arvakur Skeletal, Nightmare Armored, and Convenient Horses, which change some of the textures of the horses along with being a complete overhaul of all the horses in the game. The features of the Convenient Horse mod include mounted harvesting of ingredients, mounted combat horse charge, horse stabling, a horse encumbrance system, dialogue interactions with your horse, horse whistle and calling, horse attribute training, just everything that you're going to want to do with horses, and it just makes it so that horses are actually, useful in Skyrim now. In vanilla Skyrim, I never use horses ever, but with the Convenient Horses mod, you'll see me running around in this playthrough that I use horses actually quite a bit. They're very useful now, and they actually have a lot of good use. Next up, we have the Skyrim Reading Xbox One mod, which adds 50 extra books into the game that someone wrote themselves, just injected via a script, so you'll be able to find them on bookshelves, and in random locations you can just read someone else's work, and I think that's really cool. All the books featured are also pretty lore friendly as well. Next up we have the Craft Everything mod, which makes every non-unique piece of clothing, armor, and weapon craftable if you have the materials. This makes it so you can roleplay in any type of way that you would see fit. Next up we have the Portable Arrow Crafting mod, which adds a whole new crafting station, the Arrow Crafting Kit. Once you craft the arrow crafting kit inside the smithing station, you can place it in your inventory, and if you're not in combat, you can just open it up wherever you are and just start crafting arrows. And now we have the Master of Destruction mod, which adds a whole bunch of new master spells to the destruction skill tree because they felt like the vanilla ones weren't good enough. Moving on to the next mod, we have the Dragon Souls to Perk Points mod, which allows you to convert Dragon Souls that you collect throughout your travels into perk points. Say that you've completed the game and you have a whole bunch of Dragon Souls at your disposal and you have all the shouts unlocked and you just keep gaining souls, you can actually convert those into perk points to make your character even more powerful. Moving on, we have the Tomes of Magic Unlock and Lock, which is a mod that adds 2 different spells into the game that allow you to unlock or lock chests. These depend on your alteration skills, so you'll be able to unlock it whether it's Novice, you'll be level 1 of alteration, and then Apprentice is level 2 to 25, Adept is 26 to 50, Expert 51 to 75, and Master 76 to 100. So if you're someone who actually masters out their alteration skill, you'll never need to use a lockpick again. Next up we have the difficulty overhaul called Elegy. There's the Elegy difficulty and balance overhaul, which goes first. Then we have the Mist crafting experience, restoration potion duration, and then the survival mode patch. Don't get the survival mode patch if you don't have survival mode in the creation club. Just wanted to point that out right now. And then follow it up with the Ordinator patch after that one. Moving on, we have the Skyrim Reputation mod, which allows the game to actually be able to recognize who you are and the choices that you make in the game. Whether you're a good character or a bad character, the people in Skyrim will actually reflect that now, making it so if you're in the Dark Brotherhood and you're the top of that and you don't have anything else, that means you're going to be very evil. So if you go up and approach someone, they're going to treat you bad. They're going to know you're evil and they're going to treat you that way. But if you're very good and you do all the good quests and you're a very good person and you help a bunch of people out, then the people of Skyrim will recognize that too, and they'll want to talk to you, and they'll greet you, and they'll praise you. And even some followers in the game won't have you even do their follower quest, they'll just want to be your follower right away, so you can skip that part. I think that Skyrim Reputation is a complete must-have whenever it comes to transforming Skyrim into a true RPG. And then moving on, we have the combat overhaul for our load order called Wildcat, Combat of Skyrim. This improves the combat AI and adds injuries into the game too, like in Fallout, the cripple system. There's arm cripples, there's chest injuries, head injuries, leg injuries, and spine injuries that have different effects whether you get them or you give them to NPCs. And next up we have Improved Bandits, the complete bandit overhaul that modifies bandits' gear, stats, and perks. Their attributes and perks have been completely rebalanced, and the strength of bandits now increases more consistently across levels, and low-level bandits will now pose an adequate challenge. And now we have our animation overhauls, which is the Dual Sun Animation Replacer, the Spoiler Animation Overhaul, and the Refined Movement. These 3 mods change all of the animations in the game, such as your jumping, your swinging, your drawing your weapon, casting spells, anything that you can think of is going to look different with new animations. And now we have the Better Pelt Prices mod, which makes it so that pelts and hides sell for a higher price and produce extra leather for hunting to be more worthwhile. And staying along the same lines as hunting, we have Hunterborn SSE, which changes the simple routine of kill and loot on animals to something more immersive. This mod has its origins in realistic wildlife loot, but it wants something more in-depth, so it makes it so that there's an animation of going down and cutting up the carcass, and you have to field dress chests, you have to skin everything, you have to harvest the organs, you have to butcher it, you have to do everything that you would ever think of whenever it comes to hunting, and it makes it so it's incredibly realistic, and there's 47 new alchemy ingredients added with this as well, so hunting has never been so good. So if you want to be a hunter, now is the time to do so. Moving on to the next mod in our load order, we have the werewolf loot mod, which is a very simple one that just allows you to loot whenever you're in werewolf form. You no longer have to wait for the beast mode to wear off before searching chests. Next up we have the Talkative Dragons mod, which is a simple mod that makes it so that the vanilla dragons will actually talk to you whenever fighting you. You know, whenever you do your first dragon fight at the Whiterun Tower, you'll notice that the dragon does talk to you, but then every dragon fight after that, no one really ever talks to you again. This changes that and makes it so that there's some generic dialogue for dragons whenever they're fighting you, and I think it's just really cool sounding as well. Coming up next we have the True Dragonborn mod, which makes it so as you hunt various dragons across Skyrim, you will acquire more and more souls. Each soul that you acquire will give you more additional powers until you command the true strength of a Dovahkiin. For each dragon soul that you consume, you'll get 3 points added to your carrying capacity, some damage resistance, some health, magic, and stamina, better heal rate, better magicka rate, better stamina rate, and better shout recovery. This makes it so going out and killing dragons is actually very worthwhile. Next up we have the Training Adjustments mod, which makes it so that the cost of training of a level of skill will no longer multiply, and you can also now train 10 times instead of 5 per level. And then we have the iCrime Realistic Penalties mod, which makes it so that the penalties for the crimes you commit in Skyrim are a lot more realistic. If you pickpocket someone, it's not just going to be like 10 gold, it's going to be 150. Theft is a minimum fine of 150. Breaking and entering is now 500, and a simple assault is 750. Becoming a werewolf is 1500, and a jail escape is 2500. And only the rich can escape justice, at murder being 15,000. I really like this mod a lot, not only because it makes the fines a little bit more realistic, but it adds a little bit more strategy in the game. You know, you could just cheat the system if you had to kill someone in Whiterun. You could just kill them in front of anyone and then go to jail and just get out right away and just be fine. But this mod makes it so you have to pay over 15,000 gold if you do that and get caught, so it makes it so if you're more of a sneak person, it'll be more worthwhile to get through without being caught. Moving on, we have IA92's Enchanting Without Restrictions mod, which removes most of the restrictions whenever it comes to putting enchantments on jewelry, clothes, shields, boots, and hoods. You can now put your desired enchantments on all 7 pieces instead of just 4 of those. Next we have Sadia Time of Need No Voice Fix Alternate Version. This is a mod that expands Sadia's role in Skyrim, and if you side with her during her questline, you'll obtain proof of her innocence, and she'll become available as a potential follower, steward, spouse, and traveling merchant. And then we have the Better Intimidation mod, which makes it so all intimidation options in the game are a lot more brutal and a lot more actually intimidating than the vanilla ones. Moving on, we have updated mine markers, which edit all the mine markers in the game to tell you what type of ore they have in the center. So if you stumble across a certain mine, such as Ember Shard mine, it'll say iron in parentheses next to it, and so on and so forth for the other types of ores for the other mines. Next up we have a quality world map vivid with stone roads, which is a mod that provides a new set of highly detailed world map textures, complete with most roads. And then we have the pastel map markers as well to make it so all of your map markers are nice and colorful as well. Next up we have Purification of Skyrim, which adds one of my favorite things from the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion, poisoned apples. You can now give poisoned apples to people based on your speech skill, or just place them out for people to eat, or place them in their pockets for other people to eat later. Just a very good mod to use whenever you're going through the Dark Brotherhood, or you're just going around murdering people. And then next up we have the Multiple Rings Requested mod, which simply just allows you to wear more than one ring. Very useful for having enchantments on all of your rings. Then we have the Radiant Unique Potions and Poisons, which makes it so that each potion and poison bottle is unique. Bottles have their own labels and now reflect what is in the potion and poison, as well as what it does, and reflect some of the ingredients that go into the making of that potion as well. So there was a lot of thought put into what these potions look like. And next we have the mod that covers pretty much all of the texture for the landscape in our game, the Skyland All-in-One mod. This mod contains so much. It covers farmhouses, Markarth, Riften, Solitude, Whiterun, Winterhold, road signs, standing stones, the Dark Brotherhood door, caves, Dwemer ruins, rataways, the ships, the shacks, roads, blended roads, bridges, you name it. It adds so much and it covers so much, retexturing the entire game to make it look completely brand new. You're also going to want to grab the patch that goes along with this. And then staying along the retexture side of mods, we have the Noble Skyrim Towns and Villages mod, which covers Helgen, Riverwood, Dawnstar, Morthul, Winterhold, Dragonbridge, Falkreath, Iverstead, and Rorikstead. And then we have the Great City of Solitude, which completely expands what Solitude looks like. Solitude has never looked so good. I think that the Great City of Solitude is a must-have for people that visit Solitude a lot. It truly makes it the grand capital of Skyrim. Then moving on, we have Dark Ages Signs, which is a mod that retextures all of these signs that are outside of inns, taverns, and different types of shops that you can go to in the game. Next we have Place of Power, which is a mod that affects the areas of the standing stones that are around the Guardian Stone, the Ritual Stone, the Lord Stone, the Lady Stone, and the Shadow Stone, making them more friendly and make it look like they have a little bit more of a backstory rather than being just a simple standing stone. Next up we have the Whiterun Hunter's Paradise, which overhauls the plains of Whiterun, making it more alive and dangerous. Dozens more, if not hundreds of vanilla animals have been added to the plains of Whiterun. And now we have the Breeze Home Basement, which is a small player home mod which adds a basement to Breeze Home, and it's got more crafting stations and storage so that Breeze Home could be a viable player home for later in the game. I for one is someone who likes to stay in Breeze Home because of how small it is and how condensed the house is, so Breeze Home Basement is a must-have for me. And now we have the Magical College of Winterhold, Magical Staves, and the ELFX patch for Magical College of Winterhold, which completely remaster what the college looks like. I always hated what the college looked like in the vanilla game because it makes me feel like it's some sort of barn. It doesn't really feel like a college. You know, there's hay all over the place and nothing is really clean or anything like that, and there's not even that many NPCs in there as well. But with this mod, it completely changes that. It makes it look like a brand new college, and even adding the next mod, the Immersive Winterhold College NPCs, adds even more students into the game and even more people to be at the college for you to walk up to and interact with, making it feel like it's its brand new college and making it feel like it's a true college from the beginning. Next up we have the Opulent Thieves Guild and the Opulent Thieves Guild ELFX patch, which are simple mods that make it so you can actually see the Thieves Guild being rebuilt. You know, the more quests that you do in the Thieves Guild, the more you'll be able to see the guild grow, and the better the Thieves Guild HQ will look gradually as you complete more quests. Next up we have the Scholar's Library, which adds a functional library to each vanilla and Dragonborn player home, and it automatically sorts and maintains a collection of each book that the player brings home, making it so that you can collect all the books in Skyrim and have them all be displayed on one big bookshelf. With them automatically being sorted by the mod, it makes it so there's not really any work done on your part. You basically just have to bring the books home, and I think that's really cool, and it'll make it so people will maybe want to sit down and read some of the books once they finish their collection. And then moving on, we have the Easier Riders Dungeon Pack, which adds 7 new dungeons around Skyrim, all of which are lore friendly and seamlessly integrated into the world. And now we have the Mystic Condenser mod, which is a simple crafting station that condenses all of your potions or poisons into one big potion. Say that you have 5 lesser potions of healing, you can combine them into one big potion of healing, so on and so forth to potions and poisons. And now we have the ESO Sky Shards mod, which adds the Sky Shards from Elder Scrolls Online into the game of Skyrim. There's a total of 66 shards scattered throughout the map, and every time you collect 3, you will earn 1 perk point, totaling about 22 extra perk points if you find them all. And then moving on, we have the Missives mod, which adds a missive board to the 9 capitals in the game, where you can find a number of different Radiant quests that have varying difficulty. The quests will only lead to dungeons or NPCs in their own hold, and the missives will have their own information detailing where the quests lead to and what you need to collect. And then next up we have the Parthenax Dilemma, which gives you a little bit more of a deciding factor whenever doing the main quest. It gives you more options on what you can actually do. Moving on, we have Faction Pit Fighter, which adds the Pit Fighter, or the arena as it was called in Oblivion, into Skyrim, into Windhelm. You can go and actually fight in the pits and fight against anyone that you could like. There's animals that you can fight against, there's people, there's bandits, there's anyone really that you can think of. And then the Pit Fighter Travels add-on adds a whole bunch of new locations to fight people, such as Somerset Isles to Morrowind. Moving on, we have Lydia Reborn Character Overhaul, which changes the way that Lydia looks, walks, and lives. She'll no longer walk like a brute, and she no longer sits at home and eats sweet rolls. During the day, she'll guard Whiterun and can be found either wandering around outside or on the top of the guard barracks at the entrance of Whiterun. This just makes it so Lydia is a real person with real goals and a real job, like guarding the city, instead of just being your housecarl and sitting in your house all day if you don't use her. And then next up we have Alex's Nereron, which is a Dunmer companion mod that has over 400 lines of unique dialogue. You can find him in Solstheim, very unique character as well. Next up we have some customizable mods such as the Placeable Statics and Anna's Interior Editor. The Placeable Statics mod makes it so that you can pick up things such as big boxes and big crates and place them anywhere you want. This allows you to change what your house looks like, meaning the interior. You could pick up a bench and put it on the other side of the room, or you could pick it up and get rid of it entirely, or you can bring furniture that you find on the outside world into your home and put it in your home to display. And I think that's a really cool aspect, being able to actually fully customize your home. That's just like a perfect thing for me. And moving on to Anna's Interior Editor does does the exact same thing. It just allows you to have more options whenever it comes to creating furniture and having different types of displays in your house. And moving on, we have the Get Immersive Cheats mod, which isn't really a cheat mod, it's more of a convenience mod. It allows you to interact with more objects that normally would have no use, such as getting mammoth tusks from the mammoth skulls that you find out in the wild, firewood from wood piles, loot from crates that otherwise would be, useless, and you also get more loot or alchemy ingredients from burial urns, corpses, and barrels. And then staying along the same lines, we have the Get Immersive Merchant Cheats, which doubles the gold that merchants and fences have to buy your stuff. It gives you more fences that you can sell stolen goods to. It allows you to buy and sell ingredients, potions, and clutters to innkeepers, and merchants sell rare and unique items now. So why would you not want these two mods combined? They just add a whole bunch of new stuff that make it way more convenient and a lot more fun in the end as well. Next up, we have a mod called Grassfield, the more colors version, which adds thick and retextured grass to all the areas that you travel through throughout Skyrim, and they're more colorful now. And then of course we have the Color Patches Remover mod, which just remove those pesky color patches that have been spread throughout the world. Closing up this load order with some final mods, we have the Realistic Water 2 mod, which completely overhauls all the water and how the lakes look in the game. Lakes, rivers, and oceans now have new ambient sound effects, ponds are silent, the volume of waterfalls has been increased, icebergs and ice chunks will sometimes crack. It's just a complete remaster to all the bodies of water in the game, and it looks amazing. And now we have Alternate Start, which has got to be one of my favorite mods of all time. It allows you to start the game with any type of role-playing aspect that you would like. How do you want to start? Who were you? Who were you before this? What's your story? What's your backstory? No longer are you a prisoner who is trying to cross the border. You can start however you would like, and you can choose from a whole bunch of different options on how you want your character to start, and then you just sleep in the bed and it just teleports you there, and you start the game wherever you decided. This mod alone transforms Skyrim into an RPG because it allows you to actually roleplay. You can be whoever you want, you can go and do whatever you want and start out however you would like without having this weird backstory of being arrested while you were crossing the border. You can now be whoever you want to be now. And moving on with the next mod, we have the Realistic Conversations mod, which just overhaul all of the conversations that can be had in the game and makes them a lot more realistic. And then the Relationship Dialogue Overhaul makes it so that followers and other people that you speak to in the game are a lot more realistic whenever it comes to what they say and what they do and how they act. And then we have a compatibility patch that goes along with the Unofficial Skyrim Edition patch and the Relationship Dialogue Overhaul, which is RDO. Moving on, we have the Underwhelming Multiple Followers, which allows you to have more than one follower at a time. I believe it allows you to have 3. And then we need the compatibility patches for that as well, so you'll need the Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition compatibility patch, along with the RDO compatibility patch. And moving on to the final mod out of this huge load order, we have the FPS and Kill Move Improver, which makes it so the game will run really smooth, you'll have improved FPS. This mod also deletes some unneeded effects and particles, making your FPS thrive, and making it so you have the most stable game that you could possibly have. So that is the end, guys. 150 different mods put into one big load order in order to completely remaster Skyrim as a whole. I'm very confident in testing all of these mods, and I put a lot of work into actually making sure all of them worked without any crashes, so if you do have any questions or any different types of issues, be sure to let me know in the comments and I'll help you the best that I can. And I put a lot of time and effort into this video, so if you would mind, if you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. It really helps me out a lot. And if you have any suggestions for mods you'd like me to cover in future load order videos and future top 5 mod episodes, be sure to let me know in the comment section below, or you can follow me on Twitter. I'll be sure to leave my Twitter in the description, and you guys can follow me on there and leave me suggestions through there as well. Special shout out to my Patreon supporter. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I will talk to you guys later.